Erev Tov, everyone. Moshe Rabbeinu, in the Shiur of Ha'azinu, apparently sums up the Torah. It says, Kisu lachem as Ashira hazos linda heitev. If you know this Shira, then, so to speak, you're in the ball game. You know what's involved there. You know what the Torah wants from you. You know what history will demand from you. You know the past, you know the future. There are Meforshim who say, so to us, it looks like the afterword, so to speak. The Torah is completed in Chumash Dvarim. Vayelech is only a narrative. Azinu is the songs. Osavrocha are the brachas. So it's the afterword to the Torah. It's the epilogue. But there are Meforshim who say, Ibn Ezra and others, that this should really be the introduction to the Torah. This should be before Parshas Bereishis. And there were minhagim, like the minhag in Eretz Yisrael, where they finish the Torah every 3 years. So it was not at all our Seder of the Parshas the way we have it. And that's why Simchas Torah is a later holiday, a holiday that began in the 14th century. Until then, there was no Simchas Torah. So it's a preface. The Torah is going to tell us a story here. Reishis bara Elohim es hashamayim es haaretz. And it's going to tell us about Avraham and Yitzchak and Yaakov. And it's going to tell us about Yosef and the brothers. And it's going to tell us about the Yitzias Mitzrayim. And it's going to tell us about Ma'amad Har Sinai. It's going to tell us about the generation of the Midbar. And it's going to tell us about Moshe Rabbeinu and about Yoshua. So to speak, the Shiur of Ha'azinu is a preface to all of this. How is it a preface? So this is concentrated basically in one pasuk that the Meforshim put a lot of effort into, and that we understand pretty much superficially, if at all. Moshe says, Chor Yemos Olam, Binu Shnos Dor Vador. I'm telling you to remember everything. Chor Yemos Olam, 5783. Remember 5783, everything that happened in the last 5783 years. Who's he kidding? I'm happy if I remember yesterday. Who remembers it all? How can he say it b'loshon tzivui? Schor. The Torah says, gives us mitzvahs, laman tizkor, so that you will be able to remember. But here's schor yemos olam, remember everything. And what's binu shnos dor vador? You should realize that the song of Ha'azinu is exquisite poetry, but it's not poetry, l'shem poetry. It's not Shakespeare. So it's a great idea. I heard it in the yeshiva. So you can be yotze that with a history book. In fact, I can recommend the history book to you. You can remember it. It's possible. It's all written down somewhere. So that's you remember what happened to us because you know our history. And there are disciplines in the university that are devoted to Jewish history. And there are people who are great professors. They can tell you what color Rashi's shirt was. But Binu Shnos Dor Vador is a different level completely. Binu Shnos Dor Vador is to experience Jewish history. It's as though you were there. So when the Torah says, Tavrom Avinu Lech Lecha, the Jewish soul, 5,700 years later, or 3,700 years later, we go with him. It's an experience. We're also Lech Lecha. And when Yitzchak is on the Akedah, we're also on the Akedah. And when Yosef's in the pit, we're in the pit with him. That's the experience of history. And that's the key to it. Because if we don't experience it, then it's all, names and dates and places. It's boring. And the truth of the matter is that most history courses are boring. I can tell you exceptions, but most are boring. Who cares? What I have to know, what happened in Shnipishuk 200 years ago. Interesting. I have a grandson who is very interested in genealogy. So somehow he has traced our family back to the 1400s. And he discovered that one of his ancestors was Rabbi Sirkis the Bach. And he's all excited. I told him, I gave him a book that he should read on the Bach. I told him what the Ramban says. The Ramban says about his generation already that they were midgets, but they were on the shoulders of giants. So even if you're a midget, you can see for tremendous distances because you're on the shoulder of a giant. So Klal Yisrael, the generation can be midgets, but we're on the shoulders of giants. So Binu Shnos Dor Vador is to experience history, that you're there. That's what Chazal tell us by Yitzias Mitzrayim. I'm not reading about something that happened to somebody else. I'm not reading a story of what happened in the American Revolution. It's Kilu Hu Yotzam in Mitzrayim. I was in Mitzrayim and I went out. And that was always the secret of the Jewish people. It was the secret of the preservation of the Masorah and the tradition, is that Jews felt that way. I remember when I was a child, so my mother used to read to me from Medrash. Instead of Winnie the Pooh or whatever else was then popular, Jack and Jill. Today, all of that is postal, by the way. It's racist. It's racist, sexist, misogynist, terrible. But she used to read to me from Medrash, and it wasn't like the little Medrash book today. It was Medrash. So I remember this season of the year, I must have been 8 years old, 9 years old. So she read, there's a whole long Medrash about the last day of Moshe. And how Moshe mounts the mountain, and how the Rabboni Shalom lays him out, so to speak, and tells him to close his eyes, to cross his hands and everything. And I remember I cried. Now, I never knew Moshe. I never had anything to do with him. He didn't do many favors, but he was real. Moshe died, then I cried. Because that was the Masorah. That was what Jewish life was. So that's Binu Shnos Dor V'Dor. Schor Yemos Olam is the history book. So if you don't know anything, you certainly can't feel anything. But that's only the first step. Binu Shnos Dor V'Dor is the experience of history. How history lives in me. Ilu hu yotzom in Mitzrayim. That is why Ha'azinu could be a preface to the Torah and not just an afterword. Rabbi Chananya ben Akash Yomer Rotzak HaKadosh Hu L'Zakar Yisrael V'ficham Chibur Lahim Torah Mitzvos Shenemar Adonai Chafetz Man Tzidko Yadil Torah V'Yadir.